The University of Wyoming School of Law spent tens of millions of dollars to expand and renovate the old law school. Now, a new center dedicated to one of Wyoming's all-time favorite sons, Alan K. Simpson, has been dedicated. I'm Steve Peck of Wyoming PBS. This is Wyoming Chronicle.
Funding for Wyoming Chronicle is made possible in part by Wyoming Humanities, enhancing the Wyoming narrative to promote engaged communities and improve our quality of life, and by the members of Wyoming PBS. Thank you for your support.
Following a 2-year remodeling and renovation project at a cost of nearly $40 million, the University of Wyoming College of Law welcomed a who's who of Wyoming leadership to Laramie for the ribbon cutting of the newly expanded facility.
3, 2, 1.
The grand opening coincided with the dedication of the new Alan K. Simpson Center for Clinical and Experiential Learning. Now 93 years old, the beloved former U.S. Senator was in fine form in remarks delivered at the ceremony.
I launched my way through this institution, not here. No, speaking of institution, this is the only institution on this campus named after a C student. No question. No, I look. I've looked it up. I never did graduate cum laude. I graduated thank the Lord. And there were legions of young lawyers who could be here this day. Obviously, I had a tough time in law school. There were 18 of us in the class, and so I'd get to Harvard and these other places. They'd say, "Now, what did you graduate in your class?" I said, "I was 18th." "Oh, that's a good number. How many were in your class?" 18. And so I was limited, and went to the dean one time, and I said, "I study with these guys, and they all get A's, and I get C's, and why is that?" And he said, "Well," he said, "there are many people who can dance, but there are very few Fred Astaire's, and you, Simpson, are not Fred Astaire."
Inside, amid the reconnecting and reminiscing, Wyoming Chronicle invited guests to share their thoughts about the College of Law, their own days in law school, and the value of a legal education for lawyers and non-lawyers alike. The respondents included some famous Wyoming faces. What's your name, sir?
My name is Mike Sullivan.
So what's your name, sir?
Matt Mead.
What's your name, ma'am?
Steve, my name is Lynne Boomgaarden.
Now that sounds familiar to me. You have a position in the state of Wyoming, don't you?
My position right now is as justice on the Wyoming Supreme Court.
My name is Greg Phillips.
Now you are one of the more distinguished alumni of the University of Wyoming College of Law. You're on the federal bench now, correct?
I'm on the 10th Circuit Court of Appeals, Wyoming's sole representative.
So you're a judge. You have an affiliation with a lot of things in Wyoming.
My name is Phil Nicholas.
Now, before we went on the air, you told me you had some classmates at least as well known as you are. Who were some of them?
Dave Friedenthal, Nancy Friedenthal, they weren't married at the time, and Roger McDaniel, who's a longtime lawyer and now minister. And Dave Friedenthal and Roger and I used to commute together. So for 2 years, we drove over the pass in our second and third years.
Even in the wintertime?
All in crummy cars.
Crummy cars.
I had a wonderful career practicing law. I worked for a large law firm. And
where was that?
And I worked for a firm of Holland and Hart for more than 35 years almost.
What's your name?
Amanda Newton.
You're a graduate of UW College of Law?
I am, 2000, so 24 years ago.
Why did you want to get into law?
Well, my father was a practicing lawyer, and so I just grew up.
Say his name for us. People in Wyoming will know him.
Sure, Ray Hunkins.
Yeah,
Ray Hunkins is my father. So growing up around it, I wanted to go to law school and had a wonderful experience here. And the clinical programs, which is part of the expansion, are a key aspect of this College of Law. You really get some hands-on experience, at least you did 24 years ago when I was there.
Sounds like that's part of what this new center is like. If someone could benefit from spending a half hour even with a law student to get some knowledge, to get some advice, it's worth doing.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Tell us your name, sir.
Yes, Paul Hickey. I'm an attorney from Cheyenne that practiced for 45 years and a graduate of the University of Wyoming College of Law.
When was that, if you don't mind my asking?
Graduated in 1975, had an undergraduate degree from Arts and Sciences, and just kept on a path to get 3 years of law school, and then started my career in Cheyenne as a law clerk for Honorable Judge James E. Barrett of the United States Court of Appeals for the 10th Circuit, and then practiced in Cheyenne for 45 years. Steve.
What do you recall about those days at UW College of Law in the 70s?
My class was down the street on Ivinson. We were by where the College of Business is now. But a great time to be in law school, a little bit of a turbulent time in the 70s.
Some important people, some significant people, obviously, got their start here. The school is a big part of the state of Wyoming.
Well, it really is, and I think you heard some of this, Steve, in the comments that were made by these wonderful folks, Justice Kite, Senator Simpson, Governor Sullivan, Kermit Brown, who all focused on part of the community that we have from the Wyoming Bar, and the graduates of this school are folks who understand it's important to give back, and that a part of the education we received at the University of Wyoming, and that we are passing on to the next generation of Wyoming lawyers, is to accept those responsibilities.
Is the Wyoming Supreme Court majority women at the moment? That's what I thought.
It is right now. It has been. We have women number 2, 3, and 4 as far as historical female appointments.
And I think number 1 we heard speak earlier today. Correct?
Exactly right. Justice Kite's a really valuable mentor and friend of mine.
In addition to that service, we're here at the UW College of Law for this expanded grand opening of the new center. You're a College of Law graduate, correct?
I am, class of 1991. I came back to law school. I had been a high school science teacher for a few years, and it was during one of the bus times, and we wanted to stay in Wyoming, so I decided to go to law school. And interestingly, there were a lot. It was sort of starting the trend in non-traditional students coming, so I think the median age of starting students in my class was between 28 and 30, which was right where I was. So it was really comfortable, more comfortable than I might have expected, because there were a lot of classmates who had had earlier careers and brought a lot of diverse experience.
You're an important person at the UW College of Law. What's your name?
My name's Julie Hill.
And how are you affiliated?
I am the new dean of the University of Wyoming College of Law. I've been here 2 months.
2 months, and here you get to be part of this great grand opening. What was the state of the project when you were applying for the job, for example?
We were about a year into construction. Actually, I taught as a visiting faculty member the first semester of construction, so I was part of the faculty when they were tearing the building apart. And this putting it back together is way more fun. Wyoming started building a clinical legal education program back in the 1970s. They quickly outgrew their building here, and they moved to an annex across Grand Avenue. And it's just a long trek for the students, not a very nice facility.
What's important about having the better space for this clinical part of the College of Law?
Well, look, just because you don't have money to pay doesn't mean you don't want quality legal representation. And so when clients come to the law school now, they'll enter through a clinic entrance, they'll come up to a clinic waiting area that looks like a law firm, right? they're going to come, they're going to know they're getting quality legal representation. I worry a little bit with our last space that people thought, well, it's free and there's students and the building isn't nice. Maybe we're not getting the same quality of justice as everyone else. But this facility shows that we care, and we care about the quality of experience that they have with the clinic. We care about the quality of representation that they receive. And I just think people are going to know this is a professional environment, that our students know what they're doing. I just think it's going to be a great experience for our students, for the community, for our faculty. We're so excited about it.
You had a position in state government, as I recall.
I did some time ago.
Yes. 2 terms as governor.
2 terms as governor, 87 to 95.
95. But you're here today because you're also an alum of the UW College of Law.
Correct.
Willing to tell us what year what graduating class you were?
Graduated 60 years ago this year.
No kidding.
1964.
What drew you to the practice of law? I think I know the answer, but I want to hear you say it.
Well, it's interesting. My father was a lawyer.
What was his name?
Joe Sullivan
Joe
in
Sullivan.
Douglas. My grandfather was a lawyer. He practiced here in Laramie. And my uncle was a lawyer. And as a result of all of that, I concluded I didn't want to be a lawyer. So I went to engineering school here, got a degree in petroleum engineering, and concluded about halfway through engineering that, law doesn't sound that bad. After trying to figure out electrical engineering and mechanical engineering, and so I got my degree and then came to law school here.
Now, you practiced law for a long time and didn't really have a ton of political experience before you ran for office, am I right?
Hadn't held elective office until I decided to take a risk.
Legal education helped you come to that decision, helped you in your campaign, and I know it must have helped you in office.
If I hadn't been a lawyer, I don't know how I could have been a governor with no experience.
Tell us your name, ma'am.
I'm Denise Burke.
Where do you live?
I live in Cheyenne now.
Cheyenne.
Uh-huh.
And you're here at the this really fun event today at the UW College of Law, where the new Simpson Center is being dedicated. What's your affiliation with the law school, or what has it been?
Oh, well, I was a graduate of the College of Law. Graduated from here in 1993. Then I was with the Attorney General's office for a number of years and did a number of other things. And in the fall of 2002, I was hired as Associate Dean. And I was here from 2002 to 2013.
Who was the Attorney General when you were in the AG's office?
Bill Hill is who hired me.
Speaking of prominent members of the legal profession in the state, what do you remember about your law school days?
Oh, wow. I had been a high school English teacher before going to law school. But I'd always said I wanted to be a lawyer. And when I was making that career decision, it was not a career for women. And I was told that. My parents were very supportive, but it was not, high school guidance counselors saying, the law is not for women. And I guess I heard that and said, okay, well, I'll file that away for another day. And I don't regret my teaching years, but it took me a while then to have the teaching career and then say, okay, this is really what I still want to do. And so I focused on education law and health law. And that's, in fact, the same areas that I still advise in today.
Now, when you were in law school, what facility was your home?
Well, the building that opened in 1977 was our home. And so none of this, of course, was here. And then when I was dean, we did there were a couple of additions. The Hopper Library was added, and then we added the courtrooms. And so those were all in my tenure, not as a law student, but as associate dean. And so a lot of change, but nothing like this.
Take the long view. I mean, that's what you had to do then. But you're here to see it.
Absolutely.
Must be a satisfying day.
It is very. I mean, for years we talked about this because part of my job responsibilities were recruiting and retaining students. And our experiential learning programs were top notch. But we didn't have facilities that supported that.
Recruiting just got a lot easier, didn't it?
It did. It sure did. It's really key. I mean, I think maybe not key because the academic rigor, the programs themselves, but having a place where, one, you're proud of it, where when you're representing clients, you can bring them into a facility and they know that they're getting actual legal representation. Whereas I think previously They thought, well, these are student lawyers. Am I really getting good legal advice? And so making it much more professional and having that the total experience for the clients is huge. I also think that it helps lawyers to prepare for what they want to be as lawyers out in the practice world. So it's very, very important.
You were had a position in state government, as I recall.
I think your memory's correct. Yeah, I served as governor for 8 years.
Yeah. What were your years of election?
I was elected in 2010, started service in 2011.
Re-elected in 2014.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Since you left office, I know you've done some teaching and
a little bit of teaching,
keeping your hand in, so to speak. Yeah. Drop the name for me. Where was that?
I was fortunate enough to be a fellow at Harvard for a fall semester, and enjoyed that very much.
Good experience?
Great experience. I attribute even being asked to Governor Sullivan, who served there, and of course Senator Simpson made a big mark there in a positive way. And
so you're here today to be part of the dedication of the new Simpson Center at the UW College of Law. You're an alum, correct?
Yeah, I am.
What was your class year?
We started in '84, graduated in '87, so yeah.
What were those years like for you? What are you recalling about that today?
You know, I tell people I enjoyed law school more than college, more than high school. In part because the education was wonderful, but lifelong friends. The first day of law school, the first year, I ran into Greg Phillips, and he and I are close Phillips now, very close friends now. Of course, he's on the federal bench, and just so many of the classmates I've kept up with. I mean, it's really a lifelong relationship that serves you not only in the law, but it serves you as well, just the friendships. You know, you can't overstate the value of those. And so I tell young people that are interested in Wyoming, who think they want to be in the law, I say, if you want to practice in Wyoming, the University of Wyoming is the law school to go to.
What we're learning today is something I think I knew and I appreciated more over the past couple of hours. University of Wyoming College of Law prepares a lot of good people for a lot of important work, doesn't it?
It really does. I gave a graduation speech here, and I said that I thought the law school was the second most influential building in the state behind the state capitol.
No kidding. And you know both of those, don't you?
When you look back and you see the effect and impact on communities.
Well, you would know better than most. You were in the legislature as well. What was your class year?
My class year was 1987.
87. What do you remember about those years in law school? Some classmates or classes or atmosphere, that kind of thing?
My most important professor was a guy named Jack Van Balen, and as I say at his passing, there's not a day in my job that I've ever had in the law that I don't use a lesson that was instructed by him.
Tell me a little more about him. What was great about him?
He was a Philadelphia lawyer who came out here, loved the high country, and I don't know, I don't think he was a very popular teacher, but he taught us to think like lawyers and how to read a statute. And what does this word mean next to this word? And we learned not to breeze over things, but to get very careful on that language and lasting lifetime impact.
You have an affiliation with a lot of things in Wyoming. You're here for the law school center dedication today. What's been your involvement in this project?
Well, the involvement was securing the funding. And,
pretty important one.
Funding.
You did that as in your capacity as a longtime legislator.
I did.
Yep.
And then the greatest involvement I had is in the exterior and the architecture of the campus and trying to get the campus back to the original, what we call collegiate Gothic, Romanesque. And this building really represents what you see on Preston Pass.
We're talking about these great sandstone exteriors, and that was important to you because over the years there have been some great new buildings put up, but they didn't always adhere to that, and you think that's important.
Well, it is important because part of what happens, if you think about it, is the original sandstone was quarried here in Laramie. And what our forefathers recognized is if you take native stone and you build beautiful buildings, that the abrasiveness of the Laramie high plains sand, they weather well. And as soon as you start going to the modern architecture, which is steel and things like that, they erode, they tarnish, the abrasive Laramie weather beats it up. But what you're also seeing is that when architects would come up with these great ideas for buildings, then they would value engineer out the exterior to save the space for the professors. And what the legislature and folks that cared about the campus said, from now on, the exterior is important and you need to retain it, but recognize that the colors ought to match your surroundings and where the stone comes from.
So it's more than just the look. It's the old form must follow function thing, and here you've done both.
That's right.
You're an alum of the law school as well, correct?
I am.
What was your class year?
Well, I was graduated in '79. I think my dad graduated in about '54.
What's his name?
And his name was Jack Nicholas from Lander, and your neck of the woods. And then my grandfather was admitted to the bar the same year as the law school was formed. And the coincidence there is that he drafted, the family folklore is he drafted the petition for Thurman Arnold to start the law school. But he was he was a registrar at University of Wyoming at the time. And so we've kind of been associated with the law school for 100 years.
100 years, wow. Not many families can say that. Please tell us your name, sir.
I am Bill Schwartz.
And you, ma'am?
I'm Cheryl Rank Schwartz.
And are you related in some way?
Yes.
Yeah,
as a matter of fact, we are. Yes,
you are here not just because of this, but an interesting aspect of it is your husband and wife, both graduates of UW College of Law.
Yes,
correct?
we met in law school here our first year.
And we got married
we all sat together
the day we graduated from law school.
Yeah. And you have Cheryl Rank Schwartz. You have a well-known relative in Wyoming jurisprudence as well. Who's that?
My father is Robert B. Rank. He was a judge up in Jackson for about 14 years or so.
Yeah.
And he was an interesting character.
So law kind of runs in the family then.
It does. It does. We've got 2 daughters that also went to the University of Wyoming College of Law.
Is that so?
So it runs deep. And a son-in-law.
My dad was a lawyer, but he lived in Casper. But he went to Nebraska, of all things.
I know.
Shows off.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. We're done. Absolutely.
But he compensated for that, is what you're saying.
He did.
Your daughter's your law partner now.
Yes.
Where's that?
In Jackson.
Jackson.
Yes. My dad, her dad, When I
but
went
we
to law
needed
school,
to come back.
Before I went down to Laramie, he said, "Watch out for that Rank girl. She might punch you in the nose."
That sealed the deal? Is that what happened?
And that sealed the deal.
Our son-in-law, did we say, he's a UW law grad.
And met Leah, our daughter,
here
in law school.
No
yes.
He's from New York. He wanted out of the city. He wanted to go to the smallest law school in the nation. Learned it was Wyoming. Got in his car with his cat. Drove to Laramie, sight unseen. And he's been here ever since.
What's the value of legal education?
Learning to think like a lawyer and to analyze issues, and the other parts are contributing to society. You can help people. I still do pro bono work, and lawyers have a special both ability to help people in times the greatest need.
Legal education serves a person well, correct?
I'm kind of the poster girl for different things that you can do. I came to law school with a zoology degree, not very typical. I was able to practice in the energy and natural resources fields. I was able to teach at this law school that I love for both as an adjunct and as a faculty member for 2 full years. And then I went on, Governor Freudenthal asked me to be the director of the Office of State Lands and Investments. So I was able to do that for 7 years. And I really do, with all my heart, credit it to the fact that I had this really wonderful legal education that's allowed me to stay and work in the state of Wyoming.
The common question I'm asking everyone who's stopping here with me today is, what's the usefulness, the value of legal education for any person, even if the person doesn't end up practicing law?
Oh, legal education is the best education in the world.
Oh yeah, how come?
Because it teaches 3 really key skills. Number 1, it teaches you to think critically, to analyze things from all different perspectives. Number 2, it teaches you to write really well. And so being able to communicate what you want to other people, I mean, you've got to know that that's a key thing that lots of folks need. And then it teaches you, maybe indirectly, the value of perseverance and hard work. We don't make law school exceptionally easy here, and we think our students come out knowing how to work hard and do a good job for their clients or for whatever they end up doing.
So you'd recommend a legal education for a young person thinking about it?
Well, I'd tell them to think about it, then I'd think about it again.
Not the easiest path in the world.
No, it isn't, but the one beauty of the legal education is you never know what might be walking through the door the next day. So you have to be kind of adaptable and adjustable, and so it keeps you loose.
What's the value of the legal education as you see it after a long career in law and government both?
In terms of my job as U.S. Attorney and as my job as governor and as a rancher now, it is something you use every day, in part not just the law itself, but to be able to come here and do a much better job when you leave in critical thinking and asking the right questions. You don't need all the answers, but be able to ask some of the good questions. And not that I became an expert at it, but I was a heck of a lot better when I left than when I started. And I think that's the value of a legal education, and in particular a value of legal education at the University of Wyoming, where the classes are small, the interaction amongst the classmates is important, and the interaction with the staff and the professors, where you can walk upstairs and have a conversation with a professor. You don't get that at every law school, and it is a huge advantage to have one-on-one with a professor and say, I don't understand this, can you help me? And they gladly help you.
I've encountered some people today who are graduates of the College of Law who didn't become practicing attorneys, but they still valued the education they got. What do you think about that?
Law school education is a very well-rounded education and could take you on so many different roads in life. It really does teach you how to think in a different way. And I think that's valuable.
Concur?
I concur.
Do you object?
Counsel.
What recommends a legal education to any person?
When you walk into law school, your life will never be the same. Knowing that you can make a difference in our society, in the lives of individual people, and how it impacts you personally, that it is so enriching. There's no 2 days are ever the same in the practice of law. And that I really love.